Hello, all you wonderful people. I'm Lisa with Living Life with Lisa, and on this channel we talk about living with chronic illness, and I personally have been diagnosed with MTHFR, 2 copies, and early onset dementia, and also with chronic kidney disease. And this is just basically my life in and out, and I like to tell about my memories. There's a new analog on YouTube that picks up the word STORY, and sometimes they get blocked now, so I'm going to change those to my memories instead of the other thing I called it. And so those names will be changed eventually. I have to go through all my videos and every single one of them and change the settings on them. And so while I'm doing that, then I'll go back and change all the STORY to my memories, and then we'll know what that means. So anyway, I did the stupidest thing this morning that I've done in a while, and I went and I wanted to pick out my own turkey. I didn't want somebody else picking out my turkey, because when people shop for me, one does a really good job. There's like 2 people that tends to come out to my house, and one does an excellent job. The other one does a really poor job. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to pick out my own turkey. And so I went in, and one thing led to another, and I ended up buying all that stuff for Thanksgiving. And then for what I'm going to make tonight is Doritos casserole, and I may film it because you guys kind of like the meatloaf, and the Dorito casserole, and it's Doritos nacho chips casserole. The kids love it. It's a little bit more intense than what it sounds, and so I might do that as a video. I don't know. It depends on if I get my rear end gear. But right now, I just finished loading the van, and I'm exhausted. And so I'm waiting here, and thought I would, I'm in town. So I have physical therapy at 10:30, and right now it's like 10 till 10. So I'm only 15 minutes away. So I thought, why not do a video? And then I might do another one yet today and put it up second for the casserole. But I wanted to talk about a mystery that I think is a mystery. Things don't make sense to me, and granted, that's not unusual, but I have tons of first cousins, many first cousins, and so I don't know how I'm going to do this without using names, so I will, but we are all over we're a little bit more closer now, but we were kind of spread out all over the country. And one set of cousins that I grew up with that were 2 houses down the road from me, there was a older one and a younger one. And the younger one, I just don't know what names I should use since I don't have their permission. So I'm going to make up names. So the younger one was Tessa, and the older one was Joanne. And I had to think through all the names of all my relatives to make sure I didn't use one of them. So Joanne was the oldest one, and Tessa was the younger one. And Joanne moved out to Oregon or Washington State, one of those two, and pretty much made her life out there. From graduating from high school, she went straight out there and lived out there, until retirement. And Tessa moved around and kind of lost contact with people, and she went to Texas. And so both Tessa and Joanne kept their maiden names. And there are tons of cousins that have that same last name. And it's not an unusual name. It's not as usual as Smith, but it's pretty darn close. And so, and Tessa's on Facebook. Joanne's on Facebook. I don't have the same last name. But, and then I have cousins that don't have the same last name because they were from the female side of the family, not the side that got the name. And the Smith name is not Smith, but it's a little more exciting. But the one, I'm stuttering because I am having a hard day. Yesterday's having a hard one because the more tired I get, the more I lose my thought. And I'm sitting in a Kroger parking lot where also there's a Pizza Hut and a laundromat and a gas station, and there's two people stopped in the middle of the road talking. So I saw a coolest Corvette, though. I waited for the guy to get out so I could ask him what year it was, because it's gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. But I missed him. Anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch. So they were kind of the older group of cousins, and then we have, it was all down the line. We go anywhere from the youngest one, I'm going to say, is 49, and the oldest is 67. And so we have that big gap. Well, Tessa and Joanne were up at the higher. They're all older than me. And the ones that are younger than me don't have the same last name as the batch up here. And so, because they got married and live, one of them lives in North Carolina, which is clear the other side of the country. And because she was so young when they moved from the town we were in, Joanne and Tessa really never got to know Beth. Okay. So Beth lives in North Carolina. Beth has a different last name. Beth's last name is Johnson. Okay. And so we got all these Smiths, and she's a Johnson, and she's way younger than the Smith, Tessa Smith, and she lives in another part of the country, and their paths hardly ever crossed. They knew each other. They were friends on Facebook, but they weren't, they didn't grow up together, so they didn't really know each other. I knew both of them, but I'm in the middle. And so, anyway, so Beth one day gets a call, and she gets home from work, and there's a message on her machine that from the whatever county Dallas, Texas is in, it was from the coroner, and they wanted her to call back because they had a Tessa Smith. And so it was the coroner's office was closed by the time Beth got home from work, so she couldn't call. And so she called Joanne and gave her the information so that Joanne could call down there. Now, it turns out that Tessa supposedly had died and was in her apartment for a long time. Well, not necessarily, but the maintenance men found her, and then they could not find the next of kin, and so she was in the coroner's office or in the morgue for a long time. Like, we're not talking like a few days. We're talking weeks, months, that she's in this, and nobody's been notified. And so they know her name, and how they came up with Beth Johnson in North Carolina being related to Tess Smith in Dallas, Texas, when a simple getting on her Facebook would have led them to people with the last name Smith, which they would have known was closer. And the whole thing doesn't make any sense. As far as I know, the body was never identified by any person. I don't know how they knew who she was, unless it's because she's in the apartment. But don't you think that Dallas, Texas would have like the top-notch technology to find next of kin and things like that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And how they connected Johnson with Smith, I'll never know. And then she was cremated, and it's just something. There's just something that's not right in my book. Her phone was wiped clear, so there was no information on her phone. And they said that she cleaned up the apartment and everything, and the apartment was all nice and neat. And I don't know. I'm just blame it on the dementia, blame it on what you want. But I even have Aiden's texted me because I told him I don't know what he said. He said picking up stuff's nice. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so how do I don't think, except for Beth Johnson watches, but I don't think that Joanne has ever watched my channel, and so I don't think I'm stepping on any toes. But it doesn't make any sense. I mean, most of us could find the next of kin to somebody if they're on Facebook. You look them up, you go to the info, and they got family members down the side half the time, or you see who their friends are, and if they have the same last name, then call them. But it just, and wouldn't the apartment complex have a next of kin when you fill out the lease? Was probably, when this happened, she's probably my age, I'm gonna guess, that I am now, because she wasn't much older than me, and it's been a few years. But it just seems, it doesn't sit right. It doesn't smell right. There's just something weird about the whole thing. I won't put this on the Facebook page because there's too many people that might watch it that would otherwise get angry. I'm really questioning whether or not she's dead. I'm wondering if this is not some kind of ruse on her part to disappear, or something else happened. But how could she sit in the morgue for weeks and months? I mean, it was a long time. It was not quick. It was a long time. In a major city in the United States where they should have the best technology there is, and they cannot figure out who the next of kin is. I bet if she owed $1 million to somebody, I bet a credit agency could find the next of kin in a heartbeat. So it doesn't make any sense why nobody even looked. And then and then how did they pick Beth Johnson out of the whole clan of people? It's just, I forget what to say. It is always it just something fishy in China or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but I told a viewer that I would tell this story. So this is my story. If you have any ideas or thoughts, because I just think it's weird. I mean, it could be her. It could be all legit, but I tell you what, if it's legit, it was poorly done. If it's all legit, then, Dallas, heaven help citizens of Dallas if they can't find next of kin in less than 2 months when somebody dies. So that just seems weird to me. That just doesn't seem right. So, anyway, that's the story. Live life to the fullest, live life with no regrets, and we'll see you next time. Maybe in a little bit when I start making at least part of I'll make the first part of the casserole, and then I'll put it together right before the boys come home, because it takes a long time to cook. It's like, I don't remember how long it takes to cook. I take a picture, and but I won't cook it until they get home. Just because it'll get soggy and it won't be as fresh. So anyway, I'll show you at least the first part and possibly the second. They get goofy when I film in the kitchen. They act like they don't want to walk through the kitchen because they might be seen or heard. But when they're in the video, they don't have any problem with it. I only have one kid I don't believe you've ever seen in my video, because he doesn't want to. And so that's alright. He cannot want to. I thought that guy's gonna get in my car. So, anyway, see you next time. Bye-bye.